Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video from us at the Kickabout podcast. In this one, we are going to do, as we did last season, we're going to rate the current crop of Premier League managers. Now, in a quite unusual situation, we are recording on, the 7th of September, which is only, 4 weeks into the season, 4 or 5 weeks into the season. There's already 2 managers that have been sacked. So we are going to include Scott Parker and Thomas Tuchel, who was sacked today. We're going to include them in this list anyway. But yeah, we're going to go through every manager, give our opinion on what their qualities are, and then put them in this list that you can see above. So we've got elite, very good, average, poor, or not Premier League level. So this one could be quite tricky actually, because I don't know if there's... I can only think of one off the top of my head from that list right now that I would put in the not Premier League level category right now, but even then I think that would be quite harsh.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll go through them. We'll go through them one at a time. Right, while we were discussing there, we decided we've added in another level. So the level that unfortunately you now can't see because our camera's in the way is not Premier League level. So that's the one in the green box at the very bottom, just behind our camera there. We've got poor, average. It might be. Yeah, there you go. We'll do that. We can zoom out slightly. Right, we'll go through these one by one then. We'll start then with the first manager on this list. That is Mikel Arteta. Go on, Dan. The floor is yours.
Well, this is the main reason I wanted to change the output. So I think with Arteta, I think there's potentially a very good manager there, but he's still obviously a very young manager. It's, as we saw with the United game, this is the reason he's not in that very good category, because he's still making those mistakes that a new manager would make. But we have seen the way that he's sort of brought Arsenal up since Unai Emery left. I think he's doing a really good job with Arsenal. So with him, I would say it's still too early to tell.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say he's above average, and he's in that good category.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think the tactical switches he made against United were naive and reactionary, and I think a better manager wouldn't have done that. And it clearly had an effect in the game because Arsenal lost all control of that game as soon as he made those changes. So yeah, learning curve for him, but I don't think you can knock the job. I think last season he probably would have been in that average category, riding a crest of good form. Although, it takes a good manager to be able to arrest the sort of start they had last season and turn it around in the way that he did. Yeah. But yeah, certainly he's in that list there for me now. If we do this list next season, depending on where he finishes, he might find himself in that next list above. But you're to get to the very good and elite level, you've got to be pretty special. Either you've done something pretty special at the club that you're at, or you've been doing something at the top level for a very long time. One of those two. Okay, next one then. Steven Gerrard.
This is a tough one.
This is a tough one. I'll start this one.
Yep, you go.
I think that he came in with quite a reputation. He did a very good job at Rangers, but without wanting to be too disrespectful to Scottish football, is that they are the 2 elite teams in Scottish football.
Barcelona, Real Madrid.
It is, and he did break the cycle of Celtic wins. He got Rangers that league title, so he did come down. But obviously, it is a big step. You've gone from top dogs in a league where, even if you make minor mistakes, they can be hidden because your team is just that far better than everyone else, to a team that's investing heavily in bigger name players in a far more competitive league where mistakes are readily punished. And I think that he's been found out a little bit. I think tactically he's poor. In the game that West Ham played against them a couple of weeks ago, the difference between Moyes and Gerrard is that at half-time, Moyes recognised what was going wrong. He changed it, and we got a grip on the game, went on to win it, albeit by a very lucky goal. Gerrard didn't change anything. He went with the same thing over and over again. It's a little bit rinse and repeat from what I've seen with Gerrard so far. He's got a good squad to work with. I think a better manager gets far more out of this Aston Villa side with the players they've got. And I do think that he could find himself in trouble in the not too distant future.
I mean, he's one of the favourites to be sacked.
Yeah. So at the moment, and I don't, from what I've seen on Aston Villa fan forums, I don't think too many of them are going to disagree with me. I'm going to suggest he goes there.
I was going to suggest the same thing.
I don't think not PL level yet. I think that, how long has he been at Villa now? 18 months.
Yeah,
Ish.
yeah, came in midway through last season.
He had an okay season last season. I think we kind of let him off the hook. But I think this being his second full season, I believe, at Villa, I think he's not shown enough to say that he is, anywhere near the average level or good level. Is he in the not PL level? I think give it another 6 weeks, maybe we'll get our answer. Because he needs to do something with that Aston Villa side and quickly turn their season around. All right, Thomas Frank at Brentford.
Yeah, I mean, so far what he's done with Brentford, I think he's been very good. I'm not saying he's in that very good category. It's difficult to tell because he's obviously only had 1 season in the Premier League. But what to keep Brentford up, and at times they were quite high up in the league. They started to drop towards the end, and this season they've started quite strongly again. For me, it's between the average and good. I'm trying to.
Do you want another row in there, mate?
It almost is like another row because I don't know if
averagely good.
Yeah, I mean, other managers that I'm thinking of putting in that good category. I don't know if you could, but obviously he's got them promoted with, got Brentford promoted to the Premier League. But you want to be the deciding vote?
We've seen a lot of managers from clubs that have been promoted really suffer with second season syndrome and not know how to get their team going again after they kind of rode the crest of positivity from the year they got promoted. Thomas Frank, and I said this from the start of the season, I didn't think that was going to happen with Brentford. I thought that they were far too well organised. I like what Thomas Frank is doing there. Now, if we are going to, on this list, if we're going to put the furthest left being the most good, for example, and say that Arteta is the nearest to going into the very good category, for example, then I wouldn't have a problem putting him in there. Okay. But he might end up being further down if we put other managers in there. Now, I put him in there just because he knows what his strengths are with Brentford. He knows they're a physical team. He's not shy about how physical they are. But also, I think it would be really harsh to say to Brentford they're one-dimensional because they're not. You know, you look at the goals I know the United were really poor, but you look at the quality of the goals they scored in that game. They were outstanding, and the game against Leeds at the weekend. So yeah, I think he's got a really good crop of players. I think they're all pulling in the same direction. Where the limit is for Brentford, I really don't know. Investment might catch up with them. You know, if they really start performing, they might come under threat and lose 1 or 2 of their players to the big boys. But yeah, right now I think Thomas Tuchel is doing a really good job at Brentford. All right, Eddie Howe.
Want to start?
I will. I've been massively surprised with how well he's done at Newcastle.
Yeah.
You know, I know Shearer, fan of the show, and he's on the show as a guest sometimes. As a Newcastle fan, I know he's a massive fan of Eddie Howe for obvious reasons, but I think that even he would admit I don't think he expected Eddie Howe to do as good a job with this team as he has. I think after he left Bournemouth and they got relegated, you know, it's tough to come back from that. When you've got a relegation on your CV, it's tough to bounce back from that. And to get a prestigious job like the Newcastle job, it's, you know, you must have something about you. And it's not just the results that he's got from Newcastle, it's the way he's got them playing and how he's got to tune out people like Joe Linton, Jonjo Shelvey, Miggy Almiron. You know, he's done such a good job with transforming that team. I mean, I think they were 3rd or 4th in the form table for the second half of last season. You know, they were absolutely outstanding, and they've carried it on this year. They've made some great signings. He's, as we said in previous videos and previous podcasts, it's evolution, not revolution at Newcastle. And Eddie Howe's been outstanding, so I think he probably does go, for me anyway, into that good bracket, probably in between those two. Another season like this, and if progression continues at Newcastle, he's going to find himself probably in that next bracket above pretty quickly as well. And he's still very young, which is, you know, amazing. Future England manager, potentially.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, right, so we'll talk about Scott Parker.
First sacked manager.
Yeah, RIP. He's not dead, but... yeah, Scott Parker. I mean, he's had 2 cracks at the Premier League now. One, he lasted the entire season. One didn't. One lasted 3 games. It's a difficult one to judge, this one, but where do you think he lies on this list? Because I think I could make a case for saying that...
I feel like judging by the list, he'd potentially have to be our first not Premier League level.
I mean, he's a really honest guy, and I love the honesty that he brought to not only Bournemouth but with Fulham. But I feel like it was naive to think that there would be no repercussions for the sort of things he was saying in the media on a regular basis. It wasn't just once, it was a regular thing. To an extent, Tuchel has probably been caught out a little bit by that as well, because he's been slating Chelsea recently as well.
I think I think there's potential for him to be a good manager. But from what we've seen so far of his stints in the Premier League, I feel like he does slot into that not Premier League level.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first season with Fulham was difficult. Didn't have much investment.
Yeah.
He, for whatever reason, could not get a tune out of Mitrovic, and that really cost him that year because they didn't have a goal scorer. He, for me, is in danger of becoming the next Neil Warnock in terms of that he's like a Norwich from a team perspective, too good for the Championship but not good enough for the Premier League, and he'll be known as that manager that gets teams up but can't keep them there. So right now, I think you have to say that Scott Parker is not Premier League level.
Yeah.
That's not to say that he can't be in the future, but he's still very young. He's got a long, long career ahead of him. What he needs is a team to come up with, or a team to be appointed to, where they've got a little bit of investment and a good squad, and then we'll see about him. For example, if he was at Villa instead of Gerrard, would we see a different Scott Parker there when he's got a really good crop of players to work with? So, with some buts in this game, but I think, based on what we've seen so far, not Premier League level, not just for his ability, but also for maybe mentality-wise as well. So, okay, the other sacked manager today, Thomas Tuchel, is sacked, from Chelsea.
Today at the time of recording.
Time of recording, So he has been sacked by Chelsea.
Probably be a new manager, I imagine, by the time this comes out.
It may well be. What do you think? Sorry, it's turned very sour very quickly at Chelsea.
It has, yeah. But I mean, when he obviously won the Champions League with them in his first season, and then they won the Club World Cup and the European Super Cup. So he's won the best trophies that you can win.
And he's had several cup final appearances as well.
Yeah.
So if they were to turn those into wins, you're talking about a manager who spent there not even 3 years, I don't think, and potentially would have had 5 or 6 trophies.
Yeah, so for me, he's very good.
Yeah,
in the very good category.
I don't know why it's turned so sour. For me, to spend how much money they've spent, 275 million or whatever it is, to then sign the one player they needed, which was a striker, somebody that he's worked with at Dortmund, and then sack him less than a week later, it just doesn't make sense to me. Now, I understand that there's been some talk of that his relationship with the board has broken down. Perhaps he's lost a few people in the dressing room as well, but 6 games into the season, yes, they've been poor. Football fans are very fickle. That they were, people calling for his head and everything else. Let's not forget, Chelsea thought he was the fucking messiah about 18 months ago when he won the Champions League. So you don't become a bad manager overnight, and he was the only manager in the Premier League that seemed to have Guardiola's number. Didn't they beat him 3 times in one half of the season? So, you don't become a bad manager overnight. He'll get another job very quickly. Yeah. And I suspect that he'll bring success to wherever he goes. It's a strange one for me, but we've discussed on the podcast and other places that new regime coming in, probably were looking for a reason to get rid of him anyway. We'll have to wait and see what direction they take now with the next manager. All right, Steve Cooper, Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, I think this is too early to tell, really. I'd probably, for that reason, put him middle of the row, because he'd done as far as I'm aware, Nottingham Forest were struggling last season. Yeah, he came in and then got them promoted.
I mean, the run they went on in the second half of last season was unbelievable. I mean, they were in the lower reaches of the league.
I think they were close to relegation, weren't they?
So for him to do that was incredible. With quite a number of new players in that team with loans and stuff. Now we talked about on our other video with the transfer window what a job he's got on this season with the number of players they brought in. But you're right. I think we have to give him the benefit of the doubt for now, and maybe put him in there. But I suspect, if anything, he's going to go this way, not that way.
Yeah.
From what we've seen so far from this season with Nottingham Forest, they've been good in patches of games and been really, really poor in others. And you cannot afford to drift through games in such a way and get away with it. So, yeah, for me, the next 5 to 10 games are going to be crucial for Nottingham Forest. If they don't pick up many points, he's going to fall down into that category, and Nottingham Forest are going to be ripe for relegation this year if they don't get themselves going. Right, Antonio Conte.
I mean, I think he's got to be the first elite manager. I mean, I think he's only going to be an asset to Spurs, and already I think they're one of the only unbeaten teams in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And we've seen what he's done with other teams. You know, first season at Chelsea, he won the Premier League, turned Victor Moses into from a nobody into one of the best wing backs in the world at one point.
Yeah, the strange thing is with Conte's Spurs this season and to last season is they have often flattered to deceive. Like, they're unbeaten this year, but actually if you dig into their performances, they've not really hit top gear yet.
No.
But you could flip that around the other way and say that's a good thing. You know, they're not firing and yet they're still unbeaten and still in the top reaches of the league.
And we know he's a winner because he goes into clubs, he wins trophies, you know, he gets fed up that the club aren't at the ambition level that he's at, and he just leaves. He doesn't stick around for a payday. He just
he's a very ambitious manager that wants to win things. So massive coup for Spurs to get him in the first place. But I think you're right. I think elite in every sense of elite. I think mentality wise, he's an elite manager. He transforms teams. He's got an amazing pool to get players in. So yeah, we'll see how the season pans out. But I think we're all expecting Spurs to have a successful season this year. Possibly their best chance of winning silverware this year they've had for a number of years. So, yeah, we're going to put him in the elite list, the first one in there. Frank Lampard.
All right, this one might be where we disagree, I think.
Okay. Who's going first then?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. Frank Lampard for me. I don't know why you think we disagree. I suspect we're going to be on the same level here.
Okay.
I'm going to say he's either in the poor category or he's not Premier League level category.
Right, okay.
Is that what you're going to say?
I'm leaning towards not in the Premier League level.
Yeah. I'll give him poor just because he did have a good stint with Chelsea initially when they had no money to spend. He brought youngsters through, got them playing well. Obviously, it all went sour when he spent too much money. He did an okay job at Derby, didn't do great. Everton obviously was really poor last season, but with the players they brought in, they have shown some fight in recent weeks. They've stopped conceding tons of goals in the last few games as well. They did rely on Pickford quite heavily in that Merseyside derby the other week, but they also had chances themselves. So yeah,
if I borrow your mouse just so everyone can see, this is where I'd put him.
Yeah, right on the cusp. Yeah, well, unfortunately he has to go there, but in reality we'd love him to go about there. I think you're right. I mean, you could easily make a case for saying in here with Parker. I'm not sure tactically. In fact, to be honest, I put him and Gerrard almost in the exact same category, because I think if you swap those two managers over in those two clubs, I don't think either club's really transforms and does anything.
No, the only thing I would say is obviously Gerrard won trophies with Rangers.
He won the league. Yeah.
He won the cup, I think, as well.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But as we've discussed, though, winning stuff in Scotland doesn't make you...
No, but it's something on your CV, whereas Lampard hasn't really got anything at all, other than the fact that he played for Chelsea, managed Chelsea.
Well, I mean, I could put it to you like this. I mean, Neil Lennon has won things for Celtic on a regular basis. The current manager, is it Petrescu, I think his name is?
Yeah.
He's won stuff with Celtic now. Neither of those. Neil Lennon has never been linked with a Premier League job, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah.
Other than was manager at Leicester, maybe.
He was at one of the Premier League teams.
That was obviously a long time ago. So winning in Scotland does not mean an automatic translation down into Premier League football.
No, this is true. Brendan Rodgers.
But he had Premier League experience before he went to Scotland. So yeah, for me, they are right on the cusp. They are walking a tightrope.
Yeah.
And the net underneath of not being in the Premier League level is ready to catch them if things turn sour. It really wouldn't surprise me if both of those managers are gone before November. Really wouldn't surprise me at all. And I think everybody in the entire country assumed that Lampard would be the first to go. I don't think anybody saw what was going to happen with Parker, nor Thomas Tuchel. And I think that Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard are very much in the mix for the next managers to go. All right, Bruno Lage, how do you pronounce his name? What do we think?
Ruined it.
Oh, he's there. We're going.
This one's a really weird one for me because since he's come in, I think Wolves have been crap.
Yeah.
I think it's gone very under the radar. Last season, obviously, was sort of the first season in a while that they didn't qualify for Europe, I think.
But they were there.
They were there, but they were never close.
No, every time
10, 12 points away.
But every time they had that opportunity, because, I mean, we said this before.
Yeah, well,
West Ham and United
Ham tried their hardest not to be.
Yeah, they were like, come on, Wolves. There's the door, walk through it. And they just refused to.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? Because defensively, they've been so good at not conceding goals. I mean, Jose Sarri is an absolute godsend for fantasy league managers. But they've just not been able to do anything going forward. And I know that Wolves fans are very frustrated with him because they see a lack of tactical ambition from him. And they must look at these games where they're drawing like 0-0 with Bournemouth the other week and thinking, these are games that we should be getting 3 points from. They've got a number of exciting players in their team. Podence, Neto, Neves. These are good attacking players. And I just wonder if he is he being too negative? Is he just not doing the right things tactically? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, they've only scored 3 goals this season, and that was in 3 separate games.
I'm not saying anything.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, we know that every team struggles to go to Wolves and break them down, but we also know that they're not going to go anywhere and break other teams down.
Yeah. I feel like Wolves are too easy to play against at the moment.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go and score.
I don't think you'd go and pace them, but I feel like you'd be comfortable with a 1-0 win.
Yeah. You can almost guarantee that they're not going to score more than 1 goal against you. Almost guarantee it. Unless something, rare happens. Get caught on an off day or something like that. But for me, he's in the average.
Yeah, I think he goes in the average just because of the people that are below him.
Yeah, I'd probably put him there.
Yeah.
All right, this is going to be an interesting one. Brendan Rodgers. I say interesting because of the way Leicester have started this season. I think that realistically, we have to look more at historical stuff than we have. We can't read too much into the first 6 games of this season and judging based on that. We have to be a bit more of a broader view on this one.
I mean, he was getting linked with United at one point, doing quite well. Leicester and Celtic, and obviously he was a slip away from winning the league with Liverpool.
Yeah, as Chelsea fans like to remind Liverpool fans at every possible opportunity. I mean, it's turned really stale and potentially you could always say toxic at Leicester at the moment. They're still scoring goals, which is the odd thing. They're defensively they're so bad, and they were showing signs of defensive frailties last season. I mean, getting battered 5-2 by Brighton at the weekend is a really bad result, given that they were in that game up until 2-2 at one point.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the odds for the next Chelsea manager, Rodgers is like 4th or 5th. So he's obviously still a very good manager. And
he has brought an FA Cup, a Community Shield, and a major European semi-final, albeit the Conference League. Still a major European competition, as much as you like to say it isn't. So I think you have to judge him based on that. I think I'm putting him in the good category.
I'd probably put him at the front.
Yeah, I'll put him ahead of Arteta. I don't think it would be fair to push him any further down than that based on the Leicester situation.
He's had a longer career in management than the other 2, not including
Frank. Yeah. So I think that's fair for now. I mean, that again, this is a moving thing, right? If in 10 games time things are still not doing so well, maybe he goes down.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, we're basing it a lot more on other clubs they've been at and stuff. And obviously, Arteta's only been at Arsenal as a manager. He's been at City as assistant.
And this list is about how good are these managers, not how good are they right this very second in time. So, I think we're happy with that. Graham Potter.
This one's a difficult one.
This is because he is now very much the favourite to take over at Chelsea.
Very highly touted.
He's been getting all the plaudits. We talked on the podcast last week, I think. You look at his career trajectory and where it's gone and the success that he's brought to the clubs he's been at. But you could equally be in massive danger of overrating him and setting him up for a bit of a fail if he does go to Chelsea. So where do you see him on this list?
I would probably put him between Rodgers and Arteta.
Okay.
I think he's done more than Arteta in terms of the way he's managed to build Brighton up to play this good football that everyone's in awe of.
Yeah.
With the players that he's got, and obviously what he's done at previous clubs. He done well at Swansea. He got, I can't remember the name of his the Swedish team.
Yeah, I don't remember which particular team it was.
He got them from like the 4th division to the 1st division in 3 seasons.
I think he also did quite well in Europe with them as well. He got to the knockout stages.
Yeah, he got them into
Europe.
Europa League, I think it was. So was it Ostersunds, I think?
Yes.
Called?
Yeah.
So looking at his sort of past achievements, I think he's done more than the likes of Eddie Howe and Arteta. Maybe not so much as Brendan Rodgers in terms of, he hasn't won a cup or anything. But potentially, if he goes to Chelsea, we could see him winning Champions League. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really tricky one because at the moment he's in a very comfortable environment.
Yeah. Everything
is going well. The sky's blue. Everything's working well for him. He's got fans love him. The players love him. The board probably love him. He goes to Chelsea. The entire environment shifts. He's now got the pressure of playing or managing a team that expects success and expects it in the form of trophies. He'll have a lot more money to spend. He's going to have to work with a group of players where he's going to have to deal with more egos. He is going to have the pressure of the fans on him and just the general expectations of managing a club like Chelsea. So it's a very different environment, one that he probably has never been in before. Well, in fact, he hasn't been in before. So, if he does go to Chelsea, you will probably find out just how elite this guy can be. I don't think it will be a career ender if he goes there and it doesn't work out.
I think he'd still get a job at another Premier League club.
But what you might find is that perhaps his comfortable, best place to work is at a club like Brighton, where the pressure's off a little bit and he's given time. And that time is another thing that he's not going to get at Chelsea. He's not going to get the 2-3 years he's had at Brighton to really mould the team how he wants.
I assume he's never been sacked before either.
Probably not. No.
He's always been sort of taken by another club.
So, okay. So, what are you saying? You're saying
do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think you could probably make a case for Arteta being hired just because of the things we talked about with Potter going to Chelsea.
Yeah, and I guess Arteta's won the FA Cup with Arsenal.
Yeah,
isn't it?
And he is managing a side with much higher expectations, with let's be honest, pretty aggressive fan base at times. So I think I would probably put him there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next one, I'm very interested to see.
So David Moyes, the Moyesiah. So again, basing him. This is going to be a tough one because I can't ignore the job he's done at West Ham, which has been phenomenal. Where he saved us twice from relegation. The first time he was rewarded by being told to go away, and we thought we'd go big time and get Pellegrini in. That didn't work. We brought him back. He saved us again, and then took us to 5th place. Last day of the season, we could have had Champions League. It was unlikely, but we were there. European semi-final the next year. We got 7th last season.
And then relegation this season.
And then relegation zone this year. That being said, amongst all of that, and he has brought a massive feel-good factor to West Ham for the most part, there are still a number of annoyances that I have with him. And it surrounds his tactics and his team selection. And I know I'm not alone in this with West Ham fans. I will defend Moyes all day long because of what he's done with West Ham. We are at the moment in the middle of our probably most successful period as a club for as long as I can remember. We've had the odd really good season here and there, like when we had Payet, for example. We had an amazing season, but then it would drop off the face of the planet the next year. And we've always had that one really good season and it goes to shit. So to have 2 seasons of sustained success in inverted commas, because success to us is different to success to say United, and we've managed to put together a really talented squad of players. So there is a lot of positives there, but he doesn't do himself any favours with his negative approach to some games, and I like to call it the inferiority complex, where he sets up against teams he perceives to be better than him in a really negative way, and I think it's quite disrespectful to the group of players he's got.
Yeah.
Because we went fairly toe to toe with Chelsea and Liverpool at home last season and beat the pair of them. So I think that he needs to believe in his team a bit more and give them a little bit more license to go and attack teams, especially at home, and don't settle for just fucking sitting back and trying to catch teams on the break. We've got better players than that now. So he's going to need to change that. He's going to need to sort that. I'm hoping with the players we've brought in, he understands that those players are not going to be, they're not going to work well in a system where we just lump it long and expect Antonio to go and chase teams down and harass them all game. So yeah, for that reason, and you can stop me if you don't agree with me, I would probably put. Oh fucking hell, I don't know. I'm looking at that. I'm putting him in the good level. I'm not putting him in the very good level. Where's he just gone? I will probably put him in there.
Yep. Okay.
Now I'm not going against Potter because of the success he's done at Brighton, but given what Moyes has brought to us in such a short space of time to bring us to Europe and get us to, I mean, Creswell's tackle aside, we could have been in a Europa League final playing Rangers in his second full season at the club. So I think he has to go there, but if his tactics don't change and we keep playing the way we are, he's going to start slipping down. Right, new boy. This is Mr. PE teacher himself, Erik Ten Hag. Your turn.
Yeah, it's another difficult one. Obviously, you can't really judge him from his time at United yet. It's been very indifferent. First 2 games of the season, well, pre-season looked really good. And then first 2 games of the season, I thought, oh god, here we go. And then since then, we're on a 4-game unbeaten run, and we've beaten the likes of Liverpool, and we've stopped Arsenal's undefeated
100%, right?
Yeah. So at the last 4 games, we've looked really good, and he's sort of trying to bring in a brand new style of football, which looks really exciting. We're actually keeping the ball a little bit more rather than just booting it.
Yeah. For me, the fact that he's actually had the bollocks to stop playing Maguire, to stop playing Ronaldo.
Yeah, especially after naming him captain as well. And obviously done, looking at his past, he was, I think he was like assistant manager at Bayern Munich, and then he got the Ajax job and obviously got them to that semi-final of the Champions League, and it wasn't until a last-minute Lucas Moura hat-trick that actually sort of stopped them from getting to the final, and won multiple league titles at Ajax. I don't mind if people disagree. I don't mind if you disagree. I'd maybe put him just in between Moyes and Graham Potter.
I think it's difficult because we don't really know his qualities yet, because obviously in the same way that we're judging Gerrard on his time at Rangers, you're judging him in a very dominant Ajax team in that Dutch league. The early signs are extremely positive, I think. He's not taking any shit. He's clearly got the players working harder. He's, you look at the one of the things that I've really liked seeing as a neutral is the attitude and the desire from people like Malacia and Martinez. That they are so fucking pumped for when they make a big challenge or when they win a game.
Against Arsenal, I think it was Delot, when he tackled, he sort of slid in and the ball came back off the Arsenal player and we got a goal kick. He was celebrating like we'd just won the league.
But you've lacked that in the last few years. You've really lacked that passion. And Delot, Delot's been so impressive. I've been so impressed with Delot this season. I think he's arguably been one of your best players this season. He's brought in a couple of players that he's worked with in the past. So I think the signs are really positive. So I think I would. Where did you say?
I said in between. In
there. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think right now, 6 games in, the first 2 were absolutely shocking, but he's arrested that really, really well.
Yeah.
I think you'd be forgiven as a Man United fan for thinking the worst after those first 2 games.
Yeah, I think those 4, sort of Moyes, Ten Hag, Potter and Eddie Howe, they're very...
Yeah, they're very close. For different reasons, they're all very close. And they could all move up and down for different reasons. Graham Potter going to Chelsea doesn't immediately put him up here.
No.
It just means that, if things go well, he probably gets there quicker than he would if he stayed at Brighton. I think there's a lot. I think the next one is about as easy as it's going to be.
I don't even think we need to say anything.
Do we need to say anything?
I'd probably put him ahead of Conte.
Yeah. the old argument with Guardiola is that he's always inherited a good squad. But actually, if you look at his history, the very fact that I don't think he's ever finished a league campaign that lower than third place in his entire managerial career, or something along those lines, is an amazing stat. Just having the ability to keep teams going year after year after year with the same motivation, with the same desire, with the same work rate is incredible. And he does.
We say that City have got like a bench and a reserve team that would walk into any team. To manage to keep those players happy to just be bit part players when they would easily walk into any other team.
Yeah, I mean, Riyad Mahrez walks into any other team in the league. Bernardo Silva is the only one, and a little bit of Raheem Sterling a year or two ago. They're the only two I've ever heard any rumours of discontent for. Bernardo Silva has, been a big part of their football for the last 12 months or so now. So yeah, I think it's a very how do I put this? It's a very uneducated opinion to just say, oh, he's always had loads of money and he's always had amazing teams. Well, yeah, but so have a lot of other managers, and they have failed dismally when they've been there. So
you could say that about Zidane, and Zidane's won like 3 Champions Leagues in a row.
Yeah, exactly. So, and nobody would in their right mind ever put Guardiola and Zidane on the same level. So for me, he could easily go down as one of the greatest managers of all time.
Yeah.
I guess the big question is, from Man City's point of view, is what happens when he goes? Because he's already stayed at City longer than he has any other club. Yeah. He has said, I think, in previous times that the end of next season, I think, was when he said he was going to leave. Or was it the end of this?
I thought it was the end of this season. 2023 he said he was going to leave.
So,
which would be the end of this season.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I would not want to be the manager coming in after Guardiola in that period of success that they've had. It'd be interesting to see what happens with people like Haaland, because he's probably gone there largely because of Guardiola. Would he become a little bit unhappy and want to move on? I don't know. So yeah, nice and easy that one. Patrick Vieira, Crystal Palace. What do we think?
Still, I think a bit too early to tell with Vieira. I mean, he's come in and done a great job at Palace so far. He's changed the way they played football.
Was he there all season last year? He was. Yeah, full season.
What's his face? Left at the end of the season.
Roy, my boy.
Yeah. And obviously they were looking for that manager to come in and play a nicer style of football. Yeah. And it didn't work with De Boer.
No, it did not.
So they brought in Hodgson to quickly fill the gap, and then Vieira come in, and I think he's done a really good job for them so far. Obviously they're not breaking levels in the Premier League, but they're a tough team to play against.
Yeah. I still think there's more to come from that Palace side from an attacking point of view. I don't think they've really unlocked their full potential just yet. I suspect... Where would you put him on this list? I think I would probably put him ahead of Bruno. I would probably put him ahead of Bruno.
I'd put him at the front of the average category, yeah.
I think he's really settled things in, because when you come in after someone like Hodgson, who, let's be honest, he turned them into a difficult side to be, and they're never going to get relegated, but they didn't really pull up any trees, did they?
No.
So coming in and changing that style and getting them out of that mindset is a big thing. So yeah, I think he's done a good job, but I think that he needs to start kicking on a little bit with Palace. This one could be interesting. Ralph Hasenhüttl, Southampton.
See,
I think he has to go in the average column.
Yeah.
Because for me, if he was going to go in the good column, he would
definitely not.
He would have to maintain, because when they go on those good runs, he has to maintain it for longer. And when they always seem to be really hot or really fucking cold, they don't seem to have much in the middle. So for me, he probably goes in there.
Yeah.
Or maybe there.
Yeah, probably there, just because the one's below him. The signings that they make, I think this season they've actually done better than a lot of previous seasons. But
yeah, he's done well on a reasonably limited budget. He's brought in some decent players. There is something to be said for a manager that's been smashed 9-0 twice to actually get the guys going again and get them playing again. But the fact that he's not lost the dressing room with those long periods of shit, I don't actually know what Southampton fans think of him. I don't know whether they want to see him go, because it's, be careful what you wish for in some cases. I don't think... I mean, we had them down to get relegated this year.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And have I seen anything that changes my mind? Maybe a little.
I think they've... I
still think they'll struggle.
They've done well against Chelsea.
Yeah, I still think they're going to struggle. Because the issue is that we know we're not long away or too far away from them having another downward spiral, and it's a case of how long does it last. If he can snap them out of it in a few games, fine. But if it goes on for 5, 10, 15 games or something silly like that, then I think they're going to be in for a very, very long season.
Yeah.
So I think that's being reasonably generous putting in there. I think you can probably. I don't think he's going to be in the poor category. I think that'd be harsh, but he's definitely not in the category. Jesse March.
Yeah, this is too early to tell for me. I think he started well with Leeds. I think the signings he's made, he's obviously brought in players he's worked with before.
Yeah.
And so far they seem to be repaying him for that.
Yeah, I think I would probably put him there. Only because we've not seen him in England.
No.
Whereas Steve Cooper did an amazing job with Nottingham Forest to get him up.
Yeah.
So does that give him a little bit more over Jesse March, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
I don't know what his record was like in Germany, because I know he managed at Leipzig.
Yeah, he was at Leipzig,
and he
was at Salzburg.
So I don't know what his record was really like there. But, yeah, there's been some positive signs. Obviously, there was some real defensive issues at the weekend against Brentford. They're going to need to get on top of that quickly. I don't know if their defence is really up to scratch, to be brutally honest. So, yeah, he's got some difficult games coming up, I suspect, with that defence. If they don't get that sorted, then they could be in deep trouble as well.
Another one that's fairly obvious.
Fairly easy, fairly straightforward. Does he go
in the middle?
In the middle.
Yeah.
It's funny with Jurgen Klopp, isn't it? Because he is a serial winner. He, a little bit like Guardiola, has that mentality of just wanting to go again. The second they lost that Champions League final last season, he basically said, "Book your tickets for next year because we're going to be in the final wherever it is next season." So that mentality is huge to be classed as an elite manager. I don't care much for his constant looking for excuses when they lose. Given they've just been smashed 4-1 by Napoli tonight, I'd be interested to know what his excuse is this time, given they played a full-strength team.
That was with 25 minutes to go as well.
There, you tell me they lost by more than that.
4-1.
It was 4-1. Okay, so there are problems at the moment with Liverpool. There's some, things aren't quite right there for one reason or another. We talked in the transfer window video about the fact that we don't think they've strengthened in the right areas this summer. We don't think Darwin Núñez was needed, and certainly not for that sort of money anyway. If they could have got him for 40 million, fine, but not 86 million or whatever it was they paid for him. So, yeah, but he's still an elite manager. There's no two ways about it. The success he's brought to Liverpool over the last 5 years. If it wasn't for Man City and Guardiola, Liverpool would have been dominant over the last 5 years. So, reasonably straightforward. And then last but not least there, Marco Silva at Fulham. This one's interesting because he's had a number of spells at
He was good at Watford.
Premier League teams. Was he, though?
I thought he was good at Watford. I thought he was rubbish at Everton.
He was good at Watford for about, 6 to 10 games, and then the second he heard Everton came along, he down tools.
Yeah, that's true. But he was good for them before. Are you judging him because he down tools?
A little bit, but also because when he went to Everton, he did fuck all there.
Well, that's what I said. He was crap at Everton, but he was good at Watford.
It's weird with Marco Silva because he seems to have always had this aura around him of being a really up-and-coming, exciting manager. And if you look at the time he spent in England, other than Fulham, he's not had any success at all. He didn't. Hull got relegated. He didn't save them. He did okay at Watford, as you say, in those first 6 to 10 games. Down tools and buggered off to Everton once they came knocking. Did nothing there. He got sacked the same season, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that was the season that who came in? Ancelotti.
Yeah.
Came in. I think was after him. So I think he's done really well to sort of take a step down in the leagues, go to Fulham. And, the tune he's got out of Mitrovic is unbelievable. They're playing really well in the Premier League at the moment. So I think he's earned a bit of respect for doing that. I don't think. Do I put him at the front of the poor list, or do I put him in the average list?
Put him at the bottom of the average list.
Yeah. I think if he has a good season, keeps Fulham up, then he climbs this list. Maybe not into the good level, but certainly at the top of the average list. But yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what he's done. Maybe he's learned his lessons. Any good manager will look back at their experiences and learn lessons and change things. So maybe he's done that. So we'll have to see. But there we go. That is our look at the current crop of Premier League managers, plus the 2 that were sacked. At the time of recording, we can't replace them, which is why we left them in, because neither club, Bournemouth or Chelsea, have at the moment replaced either manager. I suppose we could have put Gary O'Neill in there, but he's only a caretaker at Bournemouth. So yeah, any on there that before we finish that you having a second change of heart, whatever?
No, I'm happy with that lineup.
Okay, right. Well, if you guys have any differing opinions than us, do feel free to let us know in the comment section below. Make sure you like the video and hit the sub for more. We've got plenty of other videos coming up, and do check out our podcast, of course. Just search the Kickabout Podcast on any podcast platform, be it Spotify, be it Amazon, be it iTunes, anything you like, it should be on there. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.